All right, thanks everybody for joining us today for today's webinar, introducing Jotform Teams. We're very excited to talk about our latest product offering, Jotform Teams for Jotform Enterprise customers. If you're new to Jotform, welcome. Jotform offers a suite of no-code solutions designed to help organizations collect, share, and manage their data. It all starts with our incredibly powerful drag and drop form builder. For those of you who are familiar with Jotform, we are excited to show you how Jotform Teams provides you with greater control and more flexibility. Today, I'm very grateful to have two of my colleagues joining us today. Morgan, our webinar manager, will be running the demo, and David, our enterprise support manager, is here to help answer your questions. One final note, this webinar is being recorded and will be reposted to our YouTube channel, and so you'll have that for future reference. And without any further ado, let's get started. All right, so here's a quick overview of what we'll be discussing today. First, we'll share an overview of Jotform Teams, and then we'll give you a little sneak peek into what inspired Jotform Teams. Next, we'll talk about all the ways you can use Jotform Teams, including how Jotform Teams supports department-specific projects, affinity groups, B2B consulting services, and more. Once we've covered all the basics of Jotform Teams, we'll dive into that demo. And then after the demo, we'll let you know about some resources that are available to help you learn more. Finally, we'll wrap up today's webinar with a little Q&A. So what is Jotform Teams? Jotform Teams is a new way to work and collaborate on the enterprise platform. You can create teams with shared online workspaces, and then within those workspaces, you can create forms, tables, reports, signable documents, and more. Assets within the team folder will then be owned by the entire team. Jotform Teams greatly enhances the existing administrative and user-level functionality. So first of all, Jotform Teams enables admin-level access for each team. So you can have admins at the team level to help you manage assets, activity, and form ownership. Team admins have the power to do a lot of things, including adding and removing team members, changing the role of those team members, filtering and monitoring team activity, managing team settings, including the visibility of the team and the default user role, as well as viewing, editing, and deleting forms and data. Secondly, the new role-based access controls are available, which provide you with greater control and flexibility to help you share information without sacrificing security. There are 4 role-based access available across your team. The first is the team admin, which we've just discussed. The second is the creator role. Creators can view and edit forms, but not view data. The third role is the data collaborator. Data collaborators can view forms and view and edit data. And then finally, that fourth role is a data viewer. Data viewers can only view submission data. So additionally, Jotform Teams enables team members to stay up to date at a glance with activity monitoring. The activity monitoring tracks a number of actions across team members and what the actions that they can take, including the creation, update, and deletions of team assets. It also tracks form assignments and the addition and removal of team members and the changing of team roles. So let's talk a little bit about the inspiration for Jotform Teams. We have our wonderful Jotform Enterprise community to thank for Jotform Teams. Customers were definitely the inspiration for a lot of new functionality and flexibility that makes it easier for organizations to quickly find and edit forms, reassign forms to accommodate vacations and staffing changes, and also expand options for collaboration without compromising security. A number of customers tested the product in beta and provided us with feedback, making the experience better for everyone. So we want to thank our beta testers that are on the call today. And because we use every product we produce, Jotform Teams was tested prior to launch. Our internal teams used it to plan and orchestrate Jotformers Week, which brought more than 170 Jotform employees from 26 countries to our office in Turkey, so we could work together and celebrate the launch of Jotform Sign in October. So if you're at all involved in project management or events management at your organization, this is a great way to learn about it. So let's talk a little bit more about ideas for using Jotform Teams. There are a number of ways to use this to enhance collaboration in your organization. You can create teams for functional and departmental groups like HR, finance, marketing, IT, and customer service. You can use it for cross-functional efforts, including holiday party planning, employee resource groups or affinity groups, corporate volunteer and community engagement programs, intern and mentoring programs, and a whole lot more. It's also great for collaborations with third-party vendors, including design services, events management, and research firms. You can also use Teams to organize your work by client. This can be useful for business consulting firms that offer marketing, design, accounting, recruiting, legal, or tax services. So now that you've got a sense of what Jotform Teams is and how you can use it, I'd like to hand things over to my colleague Morgan for our product demo.
Great. Well, thank you, Lainey. Give me just 1 second here to share my screen. Yeah, thank you, Lainey, for the handover. And thank you as well for the thorough introduction. I know that is making my job a lot easier, and it'll really set everybody on the line up to really understand this demo in the full context. So thank you. I am actually going to turn off the video so it's not blocking anything on my screen before I start presenting. Stop video, hopefully. Well, we'll see if that works. If not, it's okay. So as Lainey mentioned, I am Morgan Zients. I'm the webinar manager here at Jotform, and I am going to be doing our demo today. I am going to show you how to set up and manage a team, as well as show you how to add and manage team members. And one other thing that I want to make sure gets across today is who has access to what with Teams. With Enterprise at this point, since Teams is changing that a little bit. And I know that we got a couple of registration questions that were about that as well. So I am using my Enterprise account today. Jotformers is Jotform's enterprise space where we can create and share forms for internal purposes. And you can see that I am logged into my account. It looks identical to what you're familiar with from Enterprise, as well as if you're an individual plan user, it should look, pretty much the same as your account as well. So just to quickly orient you to what's here, you can search and browse over on the upper right-hand side. On the left-hand panel here, you have different ways to access your forms, your archive or favorites, or what's assigned to you. In the center of the page are all of the forms that you have created where you can view and access them. And you have the option to create a form here. If you need to navigate to something other than forms, you can do that with this drop-down menu here. So you can go to tables or sign documents, etc. The big change that I want to point out is that now, in addition to all of that, you will see any teams that you belong to appear in a couple of places as well. So you have those in the sidebar here, and you can click on any of them to easily navigate from one to another. You also have the option here to create a team. If you don't already have a team or you want to create a new team, you can do that here as well. I will show you what's involved in that in a couple of minutes. Also, in this drop-down menu, you might have noticed here as well that you can access your teams and create a team here. So the first thing I want to point out with regards to who has access to what is that anything that you have in your personal space is going to stay yours. So if you are concerned that suddenly other people are going to have access to, forms that you don't want people to have access to, rest assured that that is not the case. On the other hand, if you have forms or tables or signed documents or whatever that you would like other people to now have access to, it's super easy to share those and migrate them over to a team. So for example, I have this webinar feedback form. So I'm the webinar manager, as I mentioned, and this is a form that I have that I can send out to colleagues to get their feedback after sessions. since I'm really the person who's mostly managing webinars, mostly doing webinars, it makes sense that this belongs to me. There's no need for anybody to edit this or send this out other than me. There's also really not a need for anybody else to be able to view data. But if we hired a new person who was also going to be working on webinars, or if maybe the marketing team wanted to start having forms like this backed up so that if somebody left or moved to another position, no access would be lost, I can very easily move this to the marketing team, which you can see right here on the sidebar. All I need to do that is click on this form, and you can see, again, options are identical to what you're used to. There is a new option, though, to move to team. So to move this to the marketing team, all I'm going to do is click move to team, select the marketing team, and click move to this team. That pops up a window that will basically just have me confirm that I want to move this. So it's showing me the form name and any connected assets. So that would include a table that has data. It would also include an approval workflow. All of that will be migrated as well. Now, all I need to do is click Move Now to confirm. You can see that disappear from here. So it's gone from my personal space now. And if I go to marketing, you will see it right here at the top. So it's now moved over into the marketing team workspace along with any workflows or associated data. If I did that by mistake, or if this no longer needed to be shared with a team, it's also very easy to move it back. So all I need to do is click on it and look for move to my forms and move it back, basically just the same process. So that is my overview of your personal space as well as the team. So just to quickly recap that, anything that is yours will continue to stay solely yours unless you decide to change that. And when you do move it to a team, anybody on the team will have access to it depending on their access level. Or the role that Lainey mentioned earlier, so their role for the team. You can view anybody on the team by looking for the team name and looking right underneath that for where it shows how many members the team has. So you just want to click on that. That brings up a pop-up where you can see all of the team members as well as their roles. So you can see here we have a number of team admins, as well as a data collaborator, data viewer, and creator. A team admin also has the ability to change these roles. So I, as a team admin, can click on any of these, see all of the roles, and decide to change anybody's role. A team admin will have access to all forms and data. So the ability to manage, edit, share forms, edit data, create reports, etc., as well as access to the team settings overall. So managing members, managing the team overall. In addition to that role, I know Lainey gave an overview of this earlier, but just to recap what she said here, we have two data-focused roles and then a sort of form-focused role. A data collaborator can view forms, and they can also view and edit data, but they can't make any edits or send out forms. A data viewer can only view data. So I think one way that these two roles might be useful is if you're working on a big cross-team project that multiple people are taking part in, maybe you have one or two people who are responsible for the form and getting the feedback or whatever it is that you're collecting. And then you have a number of people who might be analyzing or reporting on data. That would be one way that maybe the data collaborator piece role would come in handy. Another example for a data viewer might be something like a feedback form. You want to loop in HR so they're seeing what kind of feedback there is for an employee, but they also don't have access to the form or anything else, and they can't manipulate the data in any way. The last role here is the creator role. So that's somebody that can view and edit forms, but they can't view any of the data. This could be really useful for somebody on your team who is a copywriter, who reviews language and grammar before sending something out, or maybe a designer who's responsible for making sure that all of your forms have the same look and feel, reflect company branding, etc. So again, as an admin, I can change anybody's roles here. You can also apply these roles from the beginning of when you invite somebody. I can also remove somebody from a team. So if somebody is no longer on the team, move to another department, we can remove them from the team. Also, I can invite more members from here as well. So all I need to do that is click on this. And I have an option to invite people either by link or by email. By link, you'll see the ability to set their role right here in the settings. So I can do that here. So that's that settings with the widget right there. By email, you can also include a personal message and you can apply the role here. When they accept the invitation, they will automatically be added to the team under that role. But again, that role can be changed at any time if need be. Another thing that I want to point out about the team view, well, two more things I want to point out. First, you'll notice it's functionally identical to your My Form space, your personal space. So you'll want to make sure you look at the top bar along here to see what team you're in. You can also see that you can easily navigate to what's called a team workspace, which I'll go out to in a second. But other than that, it functions exactly the same way that you're used to. Everything's in the same places, as you can see. And if I were to switch to the communications team, I'm now in that team's workspace, that team's form area. I could navigate to tables or to sign documents for that team. With regards to the team workspace, we're currently seeing the backend view, the view that you can use to manage everything, or to view just forms or just tables or just signed documents, just approvals. There is also an option to look at a more front-facing view that contains all of the materials that are included within Jotform for the team. So that is the team workspace. And all you need to do is click that gray team workspace button. That brings you over to the team workspace. And so now you can see in this space, we have an icon for the team. We have a banner at the top. For the most part, things are in the same places and you have the same functionality here. You have search and browse here. All of the ways you can access forms and data, et cetera, are all the same on the sidebar. In addition to that, there is an activity menu where you can view all activity that's happened with the team at any point. So you can see when somebody has updated a form, you'll see who updated that form and when that was done. And you can scroll through to see the entire history of what's happened with the team. Another thing that you see here are team settings. I'll come back to that in a minute, but again, team admins do have access to these team settings, so you'll find those right there. I'll also show you one other place that you can find that. In addition to that, again, since we're in a space now where we have access to everything for the team, not just their forms, we can also create anything for the team in this space. So I just hit that create button and now I can choose what I need to create, and that will be created directly within the marketing space, accessible to the entire team. Going back to the original view, I mentioned I'd show one other place to find settings. So I'm here back on my, just the forms for marketing. Next to any team, you'll see a vertical ellipses here. That is a drop-down menu of a couple of different options you have for the team. So if you click team workspace, that will bring you back to that team workspace that I was just showing. Clicking manage members will pop up that team member window where you can manage any of the members on the team. Team settings we'll come back to in a second, and you can also add a new folder if you want folders to group various materials, various forms and data, et cetera, in the same place. Team settings, again, just showed you the two ways that you can get to that. And when you do navigate to team settings, this is what you'll see. So again, as a team admin, I have the ability to change the team name, customize the URL, or delete the team. Maybe this is a duplicate team, or maybe we've merged this project with another project, whatever the case may be, I can delete that team. I can also view team members here. In addition to the view that you've seen previously, this also shows when somebody was added and the last time that they logged into the team space. We have a team activity overview here, so you can see any activity. You can also search by when that activity happened or a specific person's activity. You can also download activity here as well. The last option is team visibility, where you can choose your default member role. So by default, anybody you add will be a team admin, but you can change this if you want to make sure that anybody's being added as a data collaborator. And again, you can change that if need be down the line. The other thing you see here is team visibility. So that is any teams that are created within your enterprise instance are going to be viewable to your entire organization if they're organization only. If they're private, that means that people won't be able to see them. I'll show you that in just 1 second as well. The last thing I want to point out here, just a fun visual representation. You can also change your icon here, and you can change your cover image here too as well if you'd like to. So for that list of all of the teams within your organization, you'll see this All Teams button anywhere throughout your enterprise instance at this point. So if I go back to my home screen here, the marketing team or my forms, you see that that button follows you. When I click on that, it brings me to the directory of all teams in my organization that I can search or browse just to see who else is out there and what else is out there. This is the last place where I wanted to talk about who has access to what. So far I've talked about the forms that you have individually or data or whatever you have individually, what access your team has to everything. So with regards to the organization, anybody who is not a member of a specific team will be able to see that a particular organization exists and can see their forms, but won't be able to see anything else. Unless that's made private, as I just mentioned. So our marketing team that I just showed is private. Another example might be if you work with multiple clients and you don't want teams to be visible to anybody else who might be in your account, you want to make sure those are private. Otherwise, they're public, they're here, and you can browse through them and search through them. So let's look at what that looks like. Eleni was kind enough to create a fun example for us here. So we have Jotform Cooks Club here. And you can see as I hover over this that I don't have access. I do have the option to request to join. Since I don't have access, when I click on this, I can't really see or do anything. If I try to click create here, nothing happens. I don't see all the folders. I do see this recipe share form that Lainey has included here, but when I click on it, the only option I have here is the ability to view it, or possibly fill it out if I wanted to as well. So this might be, again, if somebody needs to join this team, they can request. Maybe Lainey's going to make a cookbook of all of our Jotform recipes, but maybe halfway through she realizes that's too big of a task for one person and she wants to pull somebody else in. She can always add people up here and send something out here, or I, as the viewer of this team, can request to join this team. Okay. The last two things I want to point out here is that in addition to looking at your organization's teams here, you can also view all of your teams here. So that will bring you to the workspace for any of these teams. I am a member of all of these. So you can see instead of that request to join team button, all I see here is the view team workspace, which brings me exactly to the same view that I've just shown. The last thing I want to talk about is creating a team. So you can see that option here. I also mentioned that when you are in your view on the side panel there, there's an option there as well. Creating a team is super easy. All you need to do is click that button. You'll select your avatar that you want to use, name the team. And from there, the biggest piece of creating this is inviting the people you want to invite to the team and choosing their access. So I will hit create here. And you'll see that now we have this new test team created. I can start creating my documents and adding in documents. I can move documents over in the way that I showed you a couple of minutes ago. And I can start inviting people to the team again, the way I showed a couple of minutes ago. So that covers our demo. So again, I showed you a couple of different ways to add and manage team members, as well as a couple of different ways to create your team and the different places that you can do that. So hopefully this has been useful. And I think Lainey has a couple of resources to close us out, and then we have some time for Q&A.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Morgan. Always appreciate your demos, always really thorough. And thanks so much for going through all of that. I know it's a new product, so it's fun for us all to explore. Really appreciate that. Let's see. And then you want to just close out. I want to make sure everyone can see the slides that we have that are next.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm Trying to navigate that.
No worries.
There we go.
All right. Okay, we should be back. All right, so as Morgan mentioned, there are a couple of additional resources that you can dig through to learn more about Jotform Teams, get more familiar with this product. So I encourage you to start with our blog. There are a couple of posts there, both our product announcement post that goes through all the features and functionality of Jotform Teams. It also mentions how it was used to orchestrate that event, Jotformers Week, which was a massive undertaking. There are also some additional resources. We have a user guide. There are video tutorials. And as I mentioned before, this webinar will be posted to our YouTube channel. If you've not subscribed yet, highly recommend you doing that so you're notified of all our future updates and you'll be able to find that video there. So at this point, I'd like to hand it back to Morgan to see if we have any questions in the chat, and David will be here to answer those questions for you.
Great. Thank you, Lainey. I am skimming through some of the questions that we got in. I do see there are a couple of people, David, asking, where did the question go? Oh, yes, about what happens when you move something over. So does all previously recorded data get moved to the team as well when the form is moved? There are a couple of questions along those lines, so that seems like a good place to start.
It does, yeah. You showed it briefly as well when you were transferring the form to the team. It also moves and checks for all connected assets. So not only the tables, those sorts of things, if you have any approval workflows, if you have any apps that are connected or using that form, it will also need to move those connected assets or disconnect them upon moving them. So it will show you everything that is connected. Primarily the data absolutely comes over along with it, so that's kind of packaged together, but there are some other things that also get transferred or should get transferred that you can uncouple during that process if you want.
Great, thank you. I didn't have a more an example to show that had more assets attached, but it is pretty straightforward when you're looking at it, what you can kind of uncouple there, as David just mentioned. So yeah. Another question I'm seeing in a few places or along this, yeah, a couple of questions like this. Do team members all need to have the same subscription plan to use Teams?
They do. Everyone who is going to be a team member needs to be a licensed user in Jotform. Admin or regular user, it doesn't matter. You kind of have further role-based permissions within the team, like Morgan showed, but you do need to be a licensed user to be a part of a team and have that similar functionality.
Right. Thank you. Along those same lines, a couple of questions about initial cost. Is Jotform Teams a paid service? So, if you could talk a little bit about the cost structure, that would be great.
Sure. So no additional cost for using Jotform Teams. Very few of our features that we add along the way come with any sort of additional cost component. If you do have any questions about cost of Jotform Enterprise as a whole, we do have a contact page for you to be able to contact sales. If you are an existing enterprise client and you want more information about whatever licenses you have, if you need to add more or anything like that, your business development manager can help with that. Absolutely.
Great, thank you. I know also a couple of people are asking if this is available to enterprise and individual license users. So just do want to clarify that this is an enterprise feature, as David just mentioned.
Yeah, it is an enterprise feature. It is included for our regular bronze, silver, gold type accounts, but extremely limited in terms of what you can do with it since they are single user accounts. Whereas on enterprise, it's multi-user environment. And so you have that ability to invite other users in that multi-user environment to your teams rather than single user accounts where they are exactly that single user, not really a group that you can manage from a single user account.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. I think that seemed really helpful to me. Another question, can I use this to create a portal for my clients to view documents and images on their projects?
Yes, so they would still need to be licensed users within the system. So, it does have that cost component to it, but it's absolutely useful for managing that sort of shared workspace. You can give your clients the level of access that they should have. So if they shouldn't be touching anything in terms of like the form content, they shouldn't be editing the data at all, you can restrict their access in that capacity. Or if you want to give them full access to it because it's their project, you can give them full access to it. But it gives you that ability to either control their access, hand over control of that access, or whatever you want to do within that team and work with your client as a team rather than them essentially being beholden to you owning or managing this stuff. It gives them a little more control and access if you want.
Great, thank you. I see another question that somebody wanted to confirm that you can still have folders inside of Teams and if that would be visible to everyone on the team. So the answer is yes. I meant to point that out.
I think you did briefly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't really go into detail, but you can absolutely, the same way you would have folders in your individual license. So yes, the answer to that
it was
is
added
yes.
sort of near the end of the production cycle, so some people might have missed that, but yeah, folders were definitely added in. They are there and they are visible and manageable by other members of the team.
Great, thank you. Lainey, are you seeing any other questions? I mean, there are a lot. I'm trying to get through as many as I can.
Yeah, I think we've covered the most of them, if not all. I did a quick scan myself, and we'll certainly be reaching out to everybody that's chimed in if we haven't answered it, and we'll be sure to get back to everybody. So we'll answer all those questions. And like I mentioned, there are additional resources that go line by line through all the features and functionality. So lots of ways to get those questions answered. In addition, if you have something that didn't get covered today, or you think of something later.
Cool. I see, I was just scanning while you were talking too. One other question, how many people can be admins on the team admins?
No limit. There's no limit to user role count. So you could have everyone on the team be an admin. You do need to have at least one team admin to be able to have the team functional. But other than that, however many you want is up to you. If you want 100 people on the team and everyone an admin, great. Set everyone as an admin.
Great. And a related question, is there any limit on how many admins or how many team members can be logged into the team at the same time?
No, completely unlimited. It's a fully shared workspace. It's intended for that multi-user sort of interaction. The only side note I'd sort of have on that is just make sure that if you are both working or multiple people are working on the same form at the same time, that you're not really stepping on each other's toes. There are indications that someone else is accessing something or working on something when you are building forms or managing data. So we kind of give you a little indicator so that you're not, but just something to be aware of, that it is multi-use or multi-user environment with multi-user access concurrently. So you could, have 5-10 people all working on the same data set, same form at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that the activity that you can see as a team admin of what's been going on in the team is really useful for that as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of the questions. There are a couple of people asking if we will have the recording of this. We absolutely will. It should be on our Jotform YouTube page. We can also send it out to you as well, and we'll follow up with an email in a week or two. So I'm going to end the questions there. Lainey, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for being on the call, and thanks everyone who beta tested the product and provided us with feedback. We do really take that into consideration, and it helps inform us as we grow the product. So thank you again for doing that, and we look forward to announcing some new stuff in the new year. Always learning, always growing with you. So thanks everyone for joining us.